Hi class, it's Dr. T. How y'all doing? Here we are in the first week of Advanced Professional Role Development. I'm excited to be in this course with you, understanding that this is very close to the end of your master's graduate journey. I can see how excited you all are, and I'm confident that you're going to do well in this course. I thought I would talk about the first assignment for this week, which is your PowerPoint presentation that you will be using in the spring to defend your proposal. So let's take a look at that. I've given you some resources. So please go over this visuals in PowerPoint and how to create engaging PowerPoint slides. And then I gave you an example of a PowerPoint that has some good visuals in it. Keep in mind that this PowerPoint has nothing to do with your proposal and is not an example of a proposal PowerPoint. But you do have a PowerPoint grading rubric that I'd like you to look at and be sure that you're following. So here's the grading rubric for the PowerPoint. What's useful about this is it tells you what to do with your slides. So here you have the outline basically of your slides. So this is what your slides are supposed to address in this order: case study, purpose, clinical problem, and then remember every subheading under it: broad overview, PICO question is presented, the project objective is identified, etc. So you'll be going through and creating slides to address all these points in the order that they are listed on your grading rubric. Roughly, you have about 35 minutes for your presentation because you're going to present and then you have about 10 minutes of questions that people can ask you, and they will ask you questions. Faculty will ask you questions, and there will also be other students and visitors there that may ask you questions. You would present for about 35 minutes. What does that mean in number of slides? That means you better have less than 35 slides, although I'm going to show you a presentation now of one of the students that's going to defend next week, and she's really created quite a few slides. She's going to have to move pretty rapidly through them. I would encourage you not to have more than, say, 30, maybe at the most, or so slides if you want that many. So you want to balance between having too few slides and not enough slides. If you stay on one slide for too long, you lose the interest of your audience. If you move through too many slides too fast, it might be a little bit distracting for your audience. However, I suppose if you were going to err in one direction or the other, I would say it's better to have more slides than too few slides, because too few slides can get kind of draggy where the audience is looking at the same slide over and over again while you're talking. So again, you're going to look at the grading rubric and you're going to have your slides go along in that order. So here's a PowerPoint from Marcy, who's going to be presenting her defense next week. If you want to come to it, come please. And I'm just going to show you some of her slides to demonstrate to you the graphics that you would put on the slides and how to make them interesting. So here's her slide. I'm going to make it go into slideshow and hope you can see it. There we go. One of the things I want you to notice right away is please make sure your slides transition, meaning they don't just pop into your, when they go from one slide to another. How do you set up transitions? I'll show you. I hope you can see here. If you can't, I'm going up to where the top, and you can't see where I'm going, but I'm going to transitions. You'll see I clicked on transitions. You're going to see here's your transitions. So you can use whatever one of these. I suggest you pick one transition and apply it to your entire slideshow. So in this case, she picked cover, and she had it timed at 1.00. I think they move kind of fast, and I would encourage you to go give it a little more time. So I'm going to make it 250 and apply to all, and then I'll show you the difference that makes. So I'll put it back on show, and you see that they're going to go a little bit slower. So she's starting out with her case study. Notice her graphic is nice and sharp as it should be. The background here is blurry, but that's the way that particular graphic is. You can see how the hand here is very sharp. So when I click now, it's going to go into a transition that is a bit slower than she had. She's presenting her case study. What I want you to see is the power of graphics and not bulleting points. There should not be a lot of narrative in your slides. You're saying the narrative. Your audience isn't really interested in reading everything you're saying. One, because they're going to go faster than you, and they're not going to actually pay attention to you. But when you use the slides as an addition to what you're saying, you will engage your much better. So we'll just look at a few of her slides. She's doing where she's clicking to make points. You can do that. The only challenge with that is, and I can tell you from doing many presentations, is it's a little bit stressful to keep on it and do it right. But if you feel comfortable with doing it, feel free to click in with something. So here she's defining the purpose of the proposal, and you're seeing again the graphics. She has a pretty good eye for graphics, and they should all be making sense related to what you're talking about. Okay, so make sure your graphics have a connection to what you're saying. I'll show you a few more. And she's using SmartArt, as you can see, and I showed you how to do that in the tutorial. Here's another way. Pay attention to how sharp things are, how clear they are, the font size being large enough for your audience. Remember, this is going to be on a huge screen, well, maybe not huge, but a very big screen in the president's, governor's, whatever the offices that you're doing your presentations in. So be sure you have good colors, remembering that room, and that you're going to have hopefully a fairly large audience. Again, you see the transitions. She's got her objective. Notice that she's not adding a lot of graphics, and she's using timing to click on what she's saying. Here's another nice graphic using SmartArt, and so on. She's got some good tables and graphs here and demonstrations of questionnaires. She's describing her change. And again, she's doing some of this stuff. You do not have to do this. Do not feel that you have to have an areas click in. As again, let me remind you, it can be a little bit stressful if you forget to do it. But that's up to you. If you feel comfortable with it and you like doing it, feel free. This is your presentation. So that's pretty much an example of the type of graphics that you can use when you're making the PowerPoint. What do you want to do? Follow the grading rubric. Make sure you address each point of that's in the grading rubric. As I'm talking, I'm just showing you some of her slides. And all this is pretty much SmartArt. And she chose some sharp colors to do it on. Graphics are very powerful, meaning pictures are very powerful. However, they're not powerful if you put up smudgy pictures. Be sure you don't choose any pictures that have copyrights on them. So if there's any kind of C on them or anything in the background on them, that means you cannot use them. Please do not use them. You said these pictures are all very sharp, and that's what you want to do. If you put in tables like this, make sure it's big enough to read. If it's not big enough to read, your audience is going to be distracted by it. So this one is pretty good to read. Notice again the sharp graphics. And notice there's not that much narrative on the slides. So you make as many slides as you're comfortable with making, as long as you are addressing each area on the grading rubric. Hope this has been helpful to you. Look back at the grading rubric. Here we are again. Here's the grading rubric. So you want a minimum of one slide for each of these sections at the least, but I'm sure you'll do a few more than that. You will end with your reflection in it, and then you will have your final slide actually would be questions. Just you can make a simple slide that says questions on it. Your slides will have references at the end, and that's really for purposes of your assignment and not really what you would show your audience. So you don't really show your audience references unless they had a question that they wanted to ask you about them. Well, that's it for the little tutorial on your PowerPoint presentation. I'm here for you. Please Skype me and I can go over things with you. We can share screens if you have some questions. I can answer anything you want, or call me if you wish. I'm sure you're going to do very well with this. You're basing it on the work you've already done on your papers, so it should not be that difficult in terms of content. I encourage you to be creative but professional. A few notes, please no clip art, meaning the cartoony kind of Microsoft clip art that you get that looks kind of kindergarten-y. Don't do that. Make sure your pictures are very professional looking. Make sure they're not copyrighted. Make sure that you have graphics that are meaningful to the content you're addressing on that particular slide. That doesn't mean you can't put something kind of dramatic there, like a mountains, a graphic of mountains, as long as you use that analogy in your actual verbiage that you're speaking when you're presenting and you're talking about climbing the mountain or something. So make sure that your graphic has a connection to the topic that you're speaking about. Let me know if you have any questions. Call me or Skype me anytime.